Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with this evening's live stream, 7:35 p.m. It is the usual kickoff time for these live streams. It is the 25th of March, into the last week of March, of course. Well, in fact, maybe next week, the last week, because the 31st falls on a Monday, I believe. So, the month of March almost gone as we head soon into April. Looking at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press here today in Spain. And we'll also go into the comment section, check out what is happening there. Lots of interesting comments, for lack of a better word. And also into the chat section around the 18, 19, 20-minute mark of this evening's live stream to see what the viewers, in the live chat are saying today while I clear the frog in my throat if I can. Now, straight into the news, and as we can see here, more inspections to detect hidden tourist apartments. Spain is ramping up inspections to identify illegal tourist rentals amid growing concern over their impact on housing and communities. In Yaiza, Lanzarote, 1 in 4 homes is used for tourism, mirroring a national trend of where 2/3 of municipalities now have tourist apartments. The surge in short-term rentals, often listed on platforms like Airbnb and Booking, is blamed for rising rents over tourism and housing shortages. In response, cities like Barcelona plan to eliminate 10,000 tourist flats over 5 years. Malaga is restricting them in 43 neighborhoods, and Toledo has passed new rules to limit their spread. A major problem is that many operate without licenses or registration, making regulation and taxation difficult. In Madrid, an investigation by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs found over 15,000 illegal rentals. Only 7% have municipal licenses. These properties often don't pay taxes and are frequently linked to complaints about noise and disruption in residential areas. So the crackdown continues on Airbnb. More inspections going to be rolled out by various ministries to detect hidden tourist apartments, as we can see there in the headline. Cities like that one, or towns like the one there mentioned in the Canary Islands on the island of Lanzarote, Yaiza, 1 in 4 properties in that town, tourist apartments. And in Madrid, 15,000 illegal tourist apartments floating around the city, and the local government apparently has not done anything about it yet. And the Ministry of Consumer Affairs putting that information out the other day. So, as we said, as we could see, another crackdown soon to take place here in Spain, adding to the various cities that have already cracked down on Airbnb, mentioned there, Barcelona and Malaga, for example. And if we look at the city of Yaiza in Lanzarote, we can see that it is one of those very picturesque towns where tourists go out of their way to try to find accommodation, hence the demand, and hence locals putting their properties on that market rather than the long-term market, much to the disappointment, let's say, of the locals on the island of Tenerife, because as we know, one of the places in Spain where it's very, very difficult to find a place to rent, the island of Lanzarote. Now, the second piece of news here, keeping on the subject in a way, and 99% of estate agents accept racist clauses. The owner doesn't want to rent to foreigners. A recent study by the Spanish housing NGO Pro Vivienda has revealed that 99% of estate agencies in Madrid and Barcelona accept racist rental clauses when requested by landlords. The investigation, based on 100 phone calls posing as landlords, showed that agencies are often willing to exclude foreign tenants despite legal and ethical concerns. This marks a sharp rise in discrimination since 2020, when 72.5% of agencies engaged in such practices. One affected woman, Irene Asiedua Danzo, shared her experience of being denied housing simply for being a foreigner, forcing her family to move far from her workplace. Agencies reportedly avoid placing these restrictions in advertisements but apply them behind the scenes, often filtering out applicants based on their nationality or ethnicity. Phrases like "we won't mention it in the ad, but we'll make sure highlight how widespread and normalized this covert discrimination has become in Spain's housing market." So there we go. They won't mention it in the ad, but we'll make sure that it happens, according to some news reports here, or this NGO saying that there is a discrimination alive and well in the rental market here in Spain, and also probably adding to the housing crisis, because in recent times the amount of people that have come into Spain from Latin American countries, for example, enormous, the amount of people that have come into the country. And if they can't get accommodation because the local Spanish landlords don't want to rent their properties out to foreigners, as we saw there, that's what we are dealing with here. Fortunately, I'm not in the need for a rental property currently, but given those statistics, it might not be easy to find it being a foreigner in this country. Don't know. Let me know your experiences in the comment section below if you have experienced this type of discrimination while trying to find a rental property. And excuse me, my voice is breaking. The final piece of news today, this one here: Spaniards are the least concerned in Europe about security and defence, according to the Eurobarometer. According to the latest Eurobarometer, Spaniards are the least concerned in the EU about issues of security and defence. While these topics rank high across the EU, with 36% of citizens citing them as the main concern, only 20% of Spaniards do so, the lowest rate in the bloc, equal only to Malta. This comes despite heightened geopolitical tensions and discussions around European rearmament. However, Spaniards broadly agree with the rest of the EU in believing that the European Union is the best body to protect against global crises and security threats. They also support the idea that unity among EU countries is crucial for this protection. The survey was carried out between January and February 2025, during a period marked by uncertainty in global security, including the return of Trump to the US presidency, a factor that has stirred debate over Europe's reliance on US military protection. So this story breaking today on top of another story that also broke, saying that Europe needs to prepare for an invasion to one of its member states. And according to the news reports, according to what the European Union is putting out there, an attack is not far away from what we are reading here, coming from the east, no doubt. So that's what we're dealing with. But according to the survey here, Spaniards the least concerned about security and defence in Europe, because obviously a lot of people think that they are far away from the borders with a certain country to the east, and Spain won't be as affected as some other countries closer to those borders, of course. Now, into the comment section we are going to go. We'll look at some of the main comments, or some of the comments that have caught my attention, at least, in the comment section over the last day or two. One here from Diego. What could be a problem is all that snow packed in Madrid's mountains. In some areas you find 3 meters of snow, as in Baldeschi skiing area. Now that it's cold, now it's cold. But if the temperature rises too quickly, we might add a lot of water to saturated rivers in an instant. The silver lining is how beautiful the spring is going to be. I would love to go to the mountainous areas in Cáceres, but I'm busy until summer. Thanks, Diego, for the comment here. I'm sorry to see that you are busy, won't be able to get to that lovely part of the country. I might take your advice and head to that part of Spain soon, to the Jerte Valley and take in some of the spring activity there, which is absolutely lovely at this time of the year, in the end of March, early April. So thanks for the suggestion there, Diego. And it is a problem, all of the water that is coming down from the mountain ranges here in Madrid, particularly all of the snow there. Madrid has experienced flooding in some areas, quite severe flooding in some southern neighborhoods. And of course, the Manzanares River, the river that runs through the capital city of Spain, was at its highest point in many, 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 many years, thanks in part to the ice melting or the snow melting on those mountains and adding to the river's flow. So thank you very much, Diego, for that one. Another comment here from Teddy. I lived in Ibiza for a while. I was surprised one night after paying €60 for a couple of pizzas and beers that they wanted to charge €2.50 for a box to take an uneaten slice home. Thanks, Teddy, for the comment. Yeah, the new food waste law that was brought in last week, I think it is, or finalised in the Parliament last week. Now establishments, bars and restaurants like the one that you mentioned there, will have to provide takeaway containers for customers or to customers in order to take their food home if they don't eat all of their pizza or all of their pasta or all of their paella. They can take it home with them in a container that will be free, according to the new government law. But of course, as with most things here in Spain, a lot of restaurant owners will try to charge the unwary tourist, I would say. So be careful with that if you are traveling here and you want to take your food home. Remember that according to the law, they cannot charge you for those takeaway containers. Only the plastic tax, which is a very small amount of money, 1 or 2 cents. But as I said, other unscrupulous restaurant owners, I'm sure, will take advantage to add some extra charges to the bill. Thanks, Teddy, for the comment. Another one here from Gary. They are sour and bitter oranges in Seville and many of these cities' streets because they are marmalade oranges. I once jumped up and grabbed one from a tree in Seville and took a bite, promptly spat it on the floor. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, you learnt the hard way with that orange in Seville, jumping up to grab one off the trees. They do look very attractive, I will say, when you walk around the city of Seville at certain times of the year and the oranges are on full display. They do look quite tempting to jump up and pick one, but of course they are not for eating as fruit, let's say, pointed out there. More of a marmalade, I think was the word used, or jam, was it? Orange jam or marmalade? Yes, marmalade was the word used. That's what those oranges are used for, that you see adorning streets here in many of the southern cities in the country, Córdoba, Seville, and others like that. Thanks, Gary. Another one here from KRL. By the way, the very smart, professional, and knowledgeable journalists at RTVE, the state broadcaster, have unknowingly committed misinformation. It's not a Roman bridge. Thanks for that, KRLKNG. We pointed this out on the channel during the live stream in the chat section. You obviously didn't stick around for that because it was pointed out by various people in the comment section that the bridge that was partly destroyed in the city of Talavera de la Reina in Toledo on Sunday, was it? Maybe Saturday night, maybe early Sunday morning, was in fact not from Roman times, built in the 13th or 14th century, I believe. And according to other reports, parts of it have broken off over the years in some 30 times. So, yeah, it was reported that it was a Roman bridge in the news article that we saw here. But as I said, that is not the case. It was shown here on the channel that is not the case. But the locals in Talavera call it El Puente Romano, the Roman bridge. So that is so hence the confusion, I should say, as to why people were going around calling it a Roman bridge. But it's not. But the government has said that it is going to fork up the cash to rebuild the part of the bridge that was destroyed. And maybe in 10 years' time, we'll see another part of that bridge destroyed, because obviously it's not the best construction when the rivers are flowing strongly as they have been in recent times. Another one here from Francisco, I think this is. In the Spanish breakfast, first put the oil on the muffin, then the tomato, and lastly the ham. If you put the tomato first, then the muffin will not absorb the oil, and it will be dancing on top of the tomato. Thanks, Francisco. This comment was written in Spanish. Francisco obviously criticizing the way that I put my tomato and oil on the bread that I ate the other day at a restaurant, the breakfast video that I put out. Thanks, Francisco, for your recommendation there. But I did a video around 3 or 4 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, and I put the oil on first, and then I put the tomato on top, and I got 4 or 5 comments saying that that's not the way to do it. The best way to do it is you put the tomato on first, then the oil. So what I can gather from this is that nobody in this country knows how to do it correctly, if there is a correct way to do it. That's what I've worked out. That's what the conclusion that I have come to here. So Francisco, according to him, oil on first, then the tomato, but according to other people, tomato and then the oil. Another one here from Dawn. When you post something to read, then I'll start this one again. When you post something to read, then we don't need to read it to us, or need you to read it to us. We can read ourselves. Thanks, Dawn, and I struggled to get this comment out. Thanks for the comment, Dawn. Yeah, I'll just mention something quickly that YouTube, right? Maybe you don't get this, but YouTube is an audio-visual medium. So if there's just something on the screen, like a text, and people are reading it, it gets pretty boring in my opinion. Maybe not for you, but my suggestion, Dawn, would be to just buy the newspaper, the local newspaper, and read it yourself, rather than coming here expecting me to just be quiet while the news is on the screen and then complaining about it in the comment section. But the most important thing here is that it's good to see that you are literate and you can read and write. So go and read a newspaper. That would be my suggestion. Talking about literacy, one here from researcher Robbie. Weather manipulation from the government. Now, is it just me, or I can't understand that sentence at all? Weather manipulation from the government. Weather, W-H, how was it spelled? W-H-E-T-H-E-R, weather manipulation from the government. Sorry, Robbie, but your comment, research Robbie, your comment just doesn't make sense. Maybe you're trying to say weather, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, meaning the weather, the rain, the wind, the sun, all of that. Is that what you're trying to mean? Because to be honest, I can't understand the sentence that you've written here. So if you are trying to say weather manipulation, do me a favor, before you start putting comments like this on YouTube, make sure you learn how to spell the word weather correctly, because otherwise the sentence doesn't make sense. So research, Robbie. Do some more research. But firstly, learn how to read and write. Okay? My advice to you. Now we're going to go into the live chat section here. Before I do that, I have to change the backdrop picture, which I always do. This photo was sent through by Jay, and it's a picture of Nerja, down there in the south of Spain, in the province of Malaga, one of the last towns before you hit the province of Granada in Malaga. And I will say a lovely shot. I think it was taken from a drone. I think that is the case, because the original file contained the letters DJI, which I know is a company that makes drones. So thank you very much, Jay, for sending this one through. Jay apparently spends time in Spain and time in the US, moving between the two countries. And a lovely photo, Jay. Thank you very much for this one. And if anybody else has a similar photo that they would like to see on the backdrop, the email address is on the screen now, spainspeaks@gmail.com, or any other information that you would like to send my way, whether it's articles, if you want to get in contact with me about something, feel free. That is the email address, spainspeaks@gmail.com. The like icon is also on the screen. If you haven't hit that one yet, please do so. Just below the video, you will find the like icon. We're currently sitting at 55 likes, 166 people watching currently, so we'll see if we can get up to a decent tally today. If you hit that like icon, please. Thank you very much for considering it. Also, people that have supported the channel in recent times through the super thanks option, people that have bought me a coffee, Patreon supporters, thank you very much. For those long-term supporters there on Patreon, thank you. And also the channel members, people that have joined as channel members here on the Spain Speaks channel in recent times. Thank you very much for that support. As you guys know, I appreciate it a lot. Now, we're going to go into the chat section. Let me open the chat section up here. I'll scroll up to the top, see what's going on. We have one here from... well, the first one I can see is from Andrew, but it seems to be he seems to be talking to someone else. I'll just find the original comment. Here we go. Good evening, Stuart and all. I hope you're having a good start to the week from a dry but cold London southeast. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that. Hope you're having a good week too. James and Kathy coming in here from a cooler Worcester today after a lovely sunny day yesterday. Looking good tomorrow for a planned walk along the river Severn. I think that's the pronunciation. Don't quote me on that. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in again today. What else we got going on here? Sani's in the chat too. Hoping everyone is having a great... Hope everyone, myself included, has had a great start to the week. Thanks, Sani. You too. Valued member John in the chat here also. Allergies are playing up. Must be springtime. Have a great week. Yes, John, that is true. Allergy season, for me at least, just around the corner. I seem to suffer allergies at various times of the year, and they seem to pop up every now and again. Springtime, of course, is the worst. Janet, valued member 2, coming in from Oxford. Good to see you, Janet. Al is also in the chat. Valued member 2, soon back in Spain, currently in San Diego. Next week we'll be flying to Philadelphia, then to Madrid, then to Jerez, and on to El Puerto de Santa Maria. Thanks, Al. Hope you have a great trip, good flight, and I hope everything is wonderful when you get back to Spain. Gino is in the chat too, coming in from a miserable Toronto. Hope all is well with you and your viewers. Isabella and I are heading back to Spain for some well-deserved R&R. Thank you, Gino. I hope you guys enjoy your trip back here and that R&R. Martin says, looks like he's in Toledo today, going on the picture. Not sure what picture Martin's referring to, but thanks anyway for that, Martin. Brad saying, great job. Brad hopes that Airbnb is totally banned. Don't know whether we'll get to a total ban on Airbnb, Brad, because these companies become very powerful lobby groups, of course, and you never know what goes on behind the scenes. So I don't think that they'll become totally banned. But just trying to crack down on the illegal ones, I think the government is planning to do, or is in the process of doing, of course. Gisela saying control over control. Not sure what that's referring to. Maybe the Airbnbs, don't know. Erica is here. Stormy Terrassa where she is. Hope everyone's having a nice week. Thanks, Erica. Dennis has filled in his application for the Golden Visa last March 17. Is it true that for political reasons the Spanish government is declining everyone? Also, do we need to be in Spain during the process? To be honest, Dennis, I've got no idea. I'm not a visa specialist. There are plenty of them out there. So, yeah, it could be political. I've got no idea. I know the government has announced a crackdown, but... the exact details, I've got no idea. You could ask this channel here, Upsticks. Chris, I think, is the owner of this channel. who specializes in it, Dennis. So check out Upsticks, and they should be able to point you in the right direction. Malaga, sun, rain, sun, according to Upsticks. Nice temperatures, though, 19 degrees. Yeah, I'd take 19, I will say. Mike coming in from Canada, 8 degrees plus Celsius there. Spring is springing. Keep on keeping on. Thanks, Mike, for that. What else? Let's have a look. Eduardo saying, what are the more affordable neighborhoods within Madrid? Good question, Eduardo. I don't know what your budget is, so I can't really say what are the more affordable ones, of course. If you've got a few million to spare, everything is at your fingertips. But of course, if you want to go down the scale, look to some neighborhoods like San Blas. Maybe that would be one of the cheaper ones, I would say, in the south of Madrid, going into the Artilleros area. Where else would a cheaper area be? Then, of course, if you go into the Villa Verdes, if you go into the south of the city as well, Carabanchel would be a cheaper area. But again, depending on what your budget is to whether they are cheap nowadays or not, of course. Flutter Girl is in the chat from a chilly Toronto. Second news story sounds dreadful. What was the second news story? Let me go back and refresh my memory here. Let me just go back. The racist clauses, yes. Well, I have heard of people having problems renting because of the colour of their skin. I'm going to be honest. I have heard that in the past. And also what the landlords are trying to get is people that have stable job conditions, I imagine. And a lot of the times people that come to this country and are working as immigrant labor, people that have come from South America, for example, don't have, or even myself, we don't have our contracts set in stone. We're not working for the big multinational companies here, which are normally the people that do have their contracts set in stone. The rest, it's a bit of a hit and miss. And of course, people that are renting their apartments out want to guarantee that they're not going to suffer any shenanigans. And unfortunately, some people, rightly or wrongly, get a bad reputation in the rental market. Antonio adding to the conversation here. Hello, Stuart. Racist clauses? No way. But it's right, because in the last crisis in 2008, I rented some properties to foreign people and they didn't pay and even went on trial. They left Spain. So that's the concern that a lot of landlords have. What Antonio is saying here, that if a crisis hits Spain, and let's be honest, if you've lived in Spain for a while, you think that the next crisis is not far away. People will lose their jobs, unemployment will go up, and people will stop paying rent. But of course, if you're working for Banco Santander or CaixaBank, that won't happen. But if you're working for, let's say, a company that will fluctuate if the economy goes up and down, that could be the risk. You could lose your job and not be able to pay the rent. Thanks for that. Brian is in the community. Brian, g'day. Hello, Stu and community. Good to see you, Brian. Where are you today? In the mountains, having a walk around, or working for a change? Let us know. What else we got here? Charlie the Chaste. Nobody is paranoid about war or defence where I live in the south, myself included. That was the impression we got from that article, Charlie. A lot of people here are not worried compared to their neighbours in the north of Europe, where the threat is a lot closer, of course. And here in Spain, in Andalusia, it's a long way away. But if you read the paper, the threat could be coming from the south. So the first place to receive that attack would be the south, Andalusia. Thanks, Charlie. Victoria, valued member, recently joined, of course. Hello, everyone. Hello, Victoria. Renown saying that the sun is finally coming to Madrid. That is true. Bit cloudy, bit overcast today, but the sun did try to peek out. And it was quite warm, I will say, when it did peek through the clouds, the sun. Helen saying that Airbnb started out innocently renting your home when you went on holiday, work colleague, and it worked well. The greedy people got into PDQ and made it a business. Yep, that is what happened, Helen. But of course, governments didn't stop that. And now we have the problem of, in a city like Madrid, there's 15,000 illegal Airbnbs. They're on the platform, but they're not paying tax. And that's what the government wants to crack down on, of course. Excuse me, I had to cough. The Jete Valley is a must at this time of the year. Thanks, Erica. It is indeed. What else? Let's have a look here. Alex saying that if you rent out a room and you live in the same building as in it's your property, your primary residence, then by all means rent it out. However, if you're making it into a business, you're part of the problem. Well, the fact is, as Helen just pointed out there, a lot of people have turned it into a business. They've seen the business opportunity that is Airbnb. And of course, if they don't have to pay tax, it's a win-win for them. What else we got going on here? The Alpujarras in Granada is beautiful in spring, as is the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas and the lakes north of Malaga being almost full again after 5 years. Thanks, Brad. Could be a place to visit. Absolutely. Barbara coming in from the Playa Flamenca. 17 degrees Celsius there. Thanks, Barbara, for that. Again, my voice is giving... There we go. That should fix the problem for a couple of minutes at least. Charlie saying, I was never brave enough to eat a decorative street orange. Guess I got lucky. Thanks for that. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Brian, valued member, also here. Now a Spanish resident, of course. ¿Qué tal? On a mission to memorize all 17 regions, comunidades, and 50 provinces of Spain. Almost there. Good luck with that, Brian. The 50 provinces won't be easy, I don't think, to memorize. Janet makes the Seville orange marmalade every year and a very nice cake with the juice and zest. Thanks, Janet, for that. My voice again. There we go. That should fix it for 30 seconds. El Puerto has many of these decorative trees. Thanks, Tewal, for that. What else we got going on here? Simona coming in from Canada, enjoying the videos. Good to see you, Simona. Christopher is just giving us an emoji today. Thanks, Christopher. What about the visually impaired people? Absolutely, Pinecone. I forgot to mention that, but I have had people over the last few years thank me because they are visually impaired. They like me to read the news. And as I said, this is an audio-visual medium, so you can get the audio or you can just turn the sound down if you want. And that was another thing that I should have suggested to the viewer in question who was complaining about me reading the news on this audio-visual platform that is YouTube. What else? Let's have a look. Simona, keep up the good work. Thanks for that, Simona. A cursed panda. I often have you on while I work and often can't have the video up, so I appreciate you reading what's on the screen. Yeah, well, I think it's worked over the years. I think it has. And lots of people have watched and very few people have commented in the same way as that person before. Rich, the flat earthers have found you, Stu. Well, they found me many years ago, Rich, when I started talking during that difficult time for some that was COVID. And every time I film a video outside, I get people telling me about these lines in the sky and how that's weather manipulation, or we're either that or we're getting poisoned by this spray and all of this stuff coming out of the back of planes. It's just, it's endless some days. It is endless. Weather manipulation is just the latest one. People thinking that all of these hurricanes and rainstorms are weather manipulation. They're doing it deliberately for whatever reason. Andres coming in from California because of the horrendous healthcare in the EEUU, the Estados Unidos, United States, that is. I'm going to the dermatologist and dentist in Tijuana, Mexico, Baja California. Thanks, Andres, for that. I hope everything works out with the dentist and dermatologist down there in Tijuana, Baja California. And just going back to what we were speaking about before, the argument would be a lot stronger if the person in question knew how to spell the word weather. Now, I don't consider myself an expert when it comes to spelling. I make mistakes all the time. But I do know the difference between different types of spelling for the word weather. And also there. And also your. So, again, if you're going to write these comments, make sure that you check the spelling. Otherwise, you sound like a complete tonto de culo. What else we've got going on here? Let's have a look. And another thing that Alex points out here, a lot of these people often tell me that you got to do the research. Now, I don't know about a lot of people, but I did a lot of research back in the day at my time at university. I was endlessly doing research on different topics. And then I did a postgraduate course, and it was more and more research. But what I don't research is unfound facts on the internet. That's what I don't research. If I want to research, I'll go to an academic writing on the topic. That's where the research should come from. Not somebody who's writing a blog on the internet. But again, just my opinion. Let's have a look here quickly. Christina, is this live? I don't know. I'll just ask my... Is this live, Mia? Yeah, it's live, Christina, yeah. What else we got going on here? They're all coming out tonight, Stu. Yeah, a few people coming out, of course. Well said, says Andrew. Thanks for that. What else we got going on here? Maria... is in the chat too. Maria's left some interesting comments on the channel over the course of the channel's life. Audio and visual is very important for the deaf and blind. Boom, boom. It is, Maria. That is true. What else we got going on here? Love it. No mercy for dummies on YouTube. Keep it real. Again, people are entitled to say and think whatever they want, but sometimes you just got to be careful what you're putting out there. That would be my advice. What else we got going on here? Christina is living in Spain. It's been raining for 2 weeks, but today, spring-like in Madrid. Absolutely, Christina, that is true. 7 is the pronunciation. There we go. See, the pronunciation sometimes and the spelling, you've got to be a local to know. But anyway, what can we do? Christopher's planning on selling the Airbnb that they have in Oliva. The rules are becoming draconian. Thanks, Christopher. I'm sure lots of people will follow you in selling their properties. What else? Let's have a look. Andrew's saying that even the winds of Amariña Airbnb, especially without permits in the wild, of Amariña, the Airbnb without permits is a problem. Of course, because people see the business opportunity. Tax-free. Put it up on Airbnb. If you get caught, bad luck. But the chances of getting caught, not very high. Gigi coming in from Surprise, Arizona. Sunny there. Thanks, Gigi. Good to see you. Valued member, of course. Gustavo coming in from Staten Island, New York. Loves the channel. Thanks, Gustavo. Good to see you today. Don't think I've seen Gustavo before. Dallas coming in from Manchester. Sunny there. Thanks for that. Brian's coming to Madrid with a 2-day stay over in Cuenca for a week at the end of April, beginning of May. I might email you on this. Stay so psyched. So there we go. If I have trouble reading that. Thanks, Brian. Absolutely. Send me an email. Lego Man is off the Vips on Sunday for breakfast. Thanks for the great vid. Yeah, check it out, Lego Man. There was a few Vips haters in the chat, but, you know, my experience in VIP, I mean, don't expect a gourmet meal, but it is what it is. Diner-style food. I quite like some of the sandwiches that they do. Some of the salads they do are okay as well. They do a menu del dia. The breakfast choices there were quite extensive. Go for it. Dennis, thank you. Thanks, Dennis. Cuenca is lovely, says Christina. Yes, it is. The province of Cuenca is also a lovely province, so check out not only the capital city. Charlie, I was denied renting a place when I was working on an 8-month contract with a temporary visa. That's it. They didn't know my race, and I glow as white as the sun. Yeah, it's the contract issue. I'm sure a lot of the times it's not race-related. The article tried to make it out as if it was race-related, but it's to do with finance, I think. A lot of places now are asking for 3 or 4 months in advance. It's a lot of money to put up front, you know. So it's a tricky combination. It's a tricky combination. What else? There we go. Let's have a look here quickly. Christopher's paying all of the taxes and following the rules, but still thinking of selling, of course. Draconian was the word used before. Bob, coming in from Torrevieja. Surely with the modern computer systems, the revenue should be able to locate all those who advertise their properties for rent. Absolutely, Bob. You would think so, right? Another thing is what happens in reality. Another thing is the reality of the situation. Architect lives in Finland. Grew up in Spain and am sick of Finland, I imagine that is. Dad lives in Malaga. We don't speak, but eventually I will inherit his estate. Cannot wait for that to happen, to start living his life again. There we go. Architect. Interesting comment, if you want to break it down. Brad, not happy with Tijuana, calling it a retrete. Tessa's in the chat from Queensland. Watching the live up early. Love the videos. Keen to move to Spain for some time with hubby and the kids. Good luck with that, Tessa. I have noticed a lot of your comments, so thanks for contributing to the comment section and being part of the community. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Edward was asking about neighborhoods within best guess. Madrid with hotels usually under 200 per night within Madrid. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, you're going to hotels for under 200 per night within Madrid. I'll have to look into that, Edward. So I'll have a think. Joaquin saying one word, different meaning. Where and where. That is true. Lots of examples in English of that, Joaquin. Lots of examples. What else we got going on here? Johnny's waiting to cross the border. Sorry, wait times to cross the border at Tijuana are ridiculous. San Diego, Tijuana used to be fun to go and tour the glass factory and grab a bite to eat, but not anymore because of those long waits. That's it. The border situation down there, I imagine it's not going to get better anytime soon. I don't think so. And we saw one here. Alex saying that the Facebook Google algorithm has taken those flat earthers, weather manipulation people as prisoner in their echo chamber. It's how Brexit, Trump, anti-vax, etc. keeps happening. Yeah, there is a definite echo chamber out there on the internet. You can find people with very similar thoughts to you, or you can be influenced by people. It is the fact of the matter. Before the internet, you could be a flat earther, but you'd have trouble finding another person to agree with you. But nowadays, you put in a tweet and you'll probably get thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people agreeing with you. That's the way it works. In the process of moving to Spain, says Jehoish, I think is this. from the US to escape the craziness and hopefully become a productive Spanish citizen someday. And your videos have helped me out planning everything. Thank you. Yeah, interesting how many people are becoming Spanish citizens. I went to a citizenship test yesterday, 2 tests I was present for, and all of the different candidates, lots of people coming in to do the test, testing their knowledge of Spain for the 25-question test. Interesting and very popular option to become a Spanish citizen for many, many people at the moment. Carlos it is, sorry. Thanks, Carlos. I had a bit of trouble with that other name there, but good to see that your name is easier for me to pronounce. Now, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure as always. I'll be back again, not on Thursday because I've got something to do, but I'll try to put out a news video if there's any interesting news around on Thursday, but no live stream. Next live stream will be on Sunday evening. Hope to see you then. There'll be more content coming out in the meantime. Stay tuned for that. Hasta luego, hasta entonces, adios, buenas noches, good evening.